talking. Well, welcome everyone. And if you're just tuning into the recording, this is our fourth quarterly meeting of the year, third quarterly meeting of the year. So we're excited to have you. I just wanted to start with a quick plug for our holiday gift guide. So this is, if you're unfamiliar with this, this is something we've done for 3 years now. And it's an opportunity for you to showcase different product offerings or services at your business. So if you have a gift idea, either an item or a service, or maybe some sort of like package or gift card that you would like us to include in the gift guide, please send it to me and I'll drop my email in the chat. But please send it to me by November 1st. And you should have received an email, but what we're looking for is, a photo of the gift, a short description, a link if it's available online. And then we'll compile these into our holiday gift guide and then distribute it very widely through both National Wildlife Federation's listservs, Groundworks listservs, all of the GLBN social media. We will be sharing it with partner groups, putting it on the website. So it's a really great opportunity for exposing your business and any of the things that you would like to promote as we approach that shopping frenzy at the holiday season. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out, but I look forward to working with you to put this together.
Very good. And let us know if you didn't get that email. We can help make sure you got that. Cool. All right, we will transition over to our clean energy updates, our first issue area. And Ashley, I'll give it to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. I'm really excited really to spend most of this time kind of taking a quick dive into some of the legislation that we've been really engaged in this legislative session. But first, just want to give a quick plug as well for our Maximizing Green Savings webinar. This was a webinar that we ran in September that some of our businesses participated in. Did a really great job of answering a lot of questions that we had from business members as well as residential customers on how they can access some of the federal savings within the Inflation Reduction Act. So just dropping the link to that webinar in the chat if you were not able to attend but still wanted to review some of the content. Or if you just have questions that you'd like, that aren't answered in the webinar and you'd like to follow up with one of the businesses who attended representing solar, electric vehicles and energy efficiency sectors, feel free to dig into that or reach out to me if you have any questions there. And then I wanted to chat through some of our priority bills. We have been really engaged this legislative session. We attended a large day of action and youth rally at the Capitol in September that many of you probably were aware of. And really, we've been focused on a few different priority bills. And I think the one that's made the most headlines is the Michigan Clean Energy Future Package. This is a suite of 3 bills that are coming from the Senate side now. And we've only got a few weeks left in the legislative session. It's going to be wrapping early November, and we really have very limited time now to shape this package and to ensure that strong bills move forward. So there's 3 bills in this package. The first one was aimed to create a really strong clean energy standard. The initial goalpost had been by 2035, and unfortunately, with a lot of pressure, especially from utility customers like DTE and consumers, we've seen the package just being very eroded, especially this bill. So there have been carve-outs created to include carbon capture and storage for new or existing gas in the most recent substitute bill. We're seeing hydrogen build out as well, included in their definition of clean energy, along with biogas. So we have some significant concerns about the way that this legislation is taking shape. We also, are opposing the use of unbundled renewable energy credits because of their difficulty in being able to actually credibly use them, track them to offset demand. And then, we're essentially trying to get this binding target because we know that, basically utility promises and the goals set in the IRP are not really a binding target. And so we want to make sure that we're setting them setting a strong standard and being able to hold them accountable. So that's a bill, SB 271, that we are hoping comes to committee tomorrow now. It's packaged with a second bill that I'll talk about, which deals with setting an energy waste reduction standard for the state. We've been all along advocating for that standard to be set at 2% for electric and 1.5% for gas. Currently, the utilities are achieving better than those standards. So it feels like, you know, a pretty easy leap to get there, but what's in the current legislation, because of some additional erosion from the utilities, is 1.5% for electric and 1.25 for gas. So it's incremental change from where the law currently stands, and it's far below the current status quo. So we're just encouraging them to be more ambitious in the targets that they set. And then finally, we are also working on some legislation, which is SB 502, aimed at the Public Service Commission. We're really encouraging them to prioritize affordability for customers and act on climate. We know that Michigan ratepayers are paying some of the highest utility costs and have some of the lowest costs or lowest quality of service in the nation. And so this is a really important bill to empower the PSC to take into account, especially climate and affordability. And just wanted to lift up too that, you know, local solar for all recently did a study, and I can throw this in the chat. It's just an interesting piece that concluded that Michigan's economy actually took more than a $4.9 billion hit between 2020 and 2021 because of the power outages. And so, you know, if we are able to incentivize more things like community solar, distributed generation, as well as passing things like a strong My Clean Energy Future package, we can limit the hit to the economy that happens there. So there's a link to that report if you're interested. And then I also just wanted to lift up a couple other pieces of legislation. There's legislation coming from the House side that really aims to, and it's made a lot of it's been the subject of a lot of controversy, but it allows the Michigan Public Service Commission to be empowered to have siting authority over renewable energy projects in Michigan in the same way that they do for, you know, an oil pipeline or a gas power plant. But this has been a really controversial bill. It actually just passed out of committee this morning, so heads toward a full House vote soon. And that's been one that we've been engaged in as well. And then we are also focused on, and these bills I'm concerned at this point will probably not see the light of day, just because we're running out of time, but the removal of the distributed generation cap in Michigan, which would allow for more residential rooftop solar to proliferate as well as commercial rooftop solar. And then passing real enabling legislation for community solar as well, which is currently not allowed here in Michigan. So that's just a really quick deep dive into some of our legislative priorities. And we've been really proud. A lot of our businesses showed up at that lobby day. They have reached out to legislators. And then I just wanted to lift up a quick op-ed that was published in Cranes by one of our member businesses, Bell's Brewing. They did a really great piece kind of laying out the economic case for sustainability. So please feel free to check that out. And that is my update. Happy to answer any questions you might have on that legislation or anything else.
I think pardon my nasally nose, as you can hear, I have a cold. But what I would just say there too is that I expect we'll have lots of opportunities for more engagement here. So keep an eye out as these packages continue to update and get presented to the committee and to the Senate or House. We'll definitely be looking for opportunities for members to provide input.
Yeah, and honestly, the time to act is now. These are going. We basically have, you know, 2, maybe 3 weeks left to get these over the finish line. So if you have not already called your senator to advocate for a strong Michigan Clean Energy Future package, please do so. Encourage any House members on the MPSC Siting Authority bill, and of course, in those asks, you can include mention for the DG cap and community solar bills as well. But If you also have a connection to the governor, we've been really trying to put strong pressure on Governor Whitmer, especially to pass a robust My Clean Energy Future package. So don't wait to act. Act today if you can.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. And at this time, we can shift over to Lisa for Great Lakes Restoration.
Thank you so much. Zoe, would you mind just refreshing the slide? I added one item at the top.
Yeah.
But I'll start talking. So we are building out a series of strong engagement opportunities for the Great Lakes Restoration Campaign. And just a refresher, this campaign encompasses quite a few things. Our engagement on what was formerly our Lake Erie Harmful Algal Blooms campaign, now looking more broadly at algal blooms regionally. We're also incorporating a microplastics lens in this campaign, as well as, still advocating for strong and increases to the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative federal funding, as well as a lot of our legislative advocacy, both on the states level and then the more regional and federal level. So on November 15th, you should have received a calendar invite, but we are hosting a webinar lunch and learn with Laura Rubin, the director of the Healing Our Waters Coalition. So Laura is very engaged in Great Lakes restoration and convening partner groups and has been working in this space for quite some time. So we're really excited about this opportunity to meet with her and hope that you can join us. And if you did not receive that invite or any of these invites, please reach out and I will make sure that you are on our lists. We're also seeing interest from members and a lot of momentum around plastics from partners in other states and other organizations. So GLBN is beginning to engage more thoughtfully on microplastics and plastics in the Great Lakes. So as I'm sure you're aware, this is an issue that has serious implications for health, our climate, our wildlife, and our water quality as, plastics are becoming more and more abundant in our Great Lakes. So save the date, we are hosting a webinar in partnership with the Plastic Free Milwaukee Coalition on November 28th. And we'll be sending out a calendar invite for this soon. But we're really excited to have guest presenter Leah Holloway with the Milwaukee Riverkeeper organization, and she also leads the Milwaukee Plastic Free Coalition. And she will be sharing more about what steps Great Lakes businesses are taking and what steps we can take to reduce single-use plastics in our communities and our waterways. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out, but look for that event coming soon. We're really excited. On October 25th, we are anticipating the introduction of a Michigan polluter pay bill in the Michigan Senate. So we anticipate that this polluter pay bill will help affirm Eagle's authority to hold polluting businesses accountable. So basically, this bill will include provisions that will put the cost of cleaning up toxic sites and hazardous spills on the polluting entity. As it stands now, taxpayers are picking up the bill to clean up after the corporations that are not acting responsibly. So this won't really be a change for any of the businesses that we work with because you're all operating responsibly, but it will essentially create a trust fund for cleanups that businesses using these hazardous chemicals will pay into, so that there is an assurance that any accidents will be paid for. So we're coordinating with partner groups to organize a lot of communication opportunities around this, and we're really excited. We have one of our businesses participating in the press conference when the bill is introduced. So a key shout out to Tammy Parks with Great Lakes Clothing Care, who will be attending. But we're looking for a few businesses to provide quotes for social media and some other media work that we're doing. So essentially, the messaging is around, businesses rely on the Great Lakes. We all have an opportunity and a responsibility to operate responsibly, and we need to hold polluters accountable when they don't follow the rules. So if you have interest in helping lift up some of that messaging or support for the bill, please reach out and I will help get that moving in the right direction. And then two quick FYI updates. The first is that Ohio is meeting to develop the next iteration of their domestic action plan, which essentially will outline Ohio's anticipated steps to meet their water quality agreement goals in Lake Erie to reduce phosphorus runoff over the next 5 years. So we're leaning a lot on partner groups who are really engaged deeply in this work. But there will likely be some opportunities for GLBN businesses to lift up some of, the key talking points to tell the story of Lake Erie and the importance of a clean Lake Erie to businesses, as well as, possibly call for more action if we feel that the plan is not shaping up in a good way. So that's more of an FYI. Keep an eye out for future opportunities. And then finally, as you know, GLBN submitted comments for the Action Plan 4, which is the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative's action plan, which outlines how that federal funding is spent over the next 5 years. So thank you to all of the businesses that signed on. We are anticipating that the draft plan will be released later this winter, and then we will be creating another set of GLBN comments that we encourage you to sign on to. So just an FYI there, and stay tuned for more. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
It looks like we do have a question in the chat, Lisa, from Chuck. It says, do we engage environmental insurers in polluter pay conversations? It seems to me that they are the ultimate payers when a polluting business is assessed a charge.
That is a great question, Chuck, and I do not know off the top of my head, and I don't want to give you the wrong answer. So I'm happy to follow up with you after this call and as we learn more about what is in this bill.
Thank you. I run into it in the PFAS environment an awful lot. When you have an environmental insurance policy out there that covers things like this, and when there is an assessment made against the insured, it flows uphill to the insurer. And even if it's large enough, it goes even further uphill to the reinsurer. And so that ultimately is where the money sources after a certain point. And I think if we haven't talked about how to engage the insurance companies that ultimately pay through these policies, I think it's worth a thought to put some, I don't know, some type of outreach together to engage them. They certainly have a lot of stake in the issue.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great point. And I know the PFAS community has been engaged in getting this bill to the point of being introduced. So I'm inclined to think they are considering that, but I will definitely connect with you.
All righty. And Beth, I just want to check, do we have your audio? Oh, there you go. Great.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, perfect. I will pass it over to you.
I can't see myself, so hopefully that's okay.
You look
I'm
great.
sorry I'm in the car and in commute. I actually had a meeting with our new Eagle director this morning, Phil Roos, as well as his second hand, which is Kara Cook. She also works for the governor's office. So I got a really good look this morning into some of the priorities that the state of Michigan is pushing. But I just wanted to flag on Chuck's question about polluter pay. That was our last bullet item in this group meeting that we had this morning, and they kind of laid out their wish list. I did not hear insurance, so I will definitely follow up and just see how that is being incorporated into thinking. The Department of Eagle, is very eager to strengthen the polluter pay package and ensure that some of the challenges that they encounter, which I'm sure, Chuck, what you outlined is one of them, that they're addressed in the package that's moving. So I'll be quick to flag that for that team that's really leading that work. But for those that don't know me, my name is Beth Wallace, and my role sits within the National Wildlife Federation as the Great Lakes Freshwater Campaigns Manager, but I also carry a dual role as the co-manager with Ashley for the Great Lakes Business Network. And I'm one of the fortunate team members that have had the opportunity to be here since the beginning of the Great Lakes Business Network. So it's really exciting to be a part of these conversations here, the ideas coming from our members, but also just seeing the breadth of work that we're doing as a team during these updates. It's always a good refresher, even for myself. So appreciate the teammates in the previous presentations. And I will talk a lot about line 5. I say a lot, but I'll be about 5 minutes here. Because there's some folks on here that I don't think I've had the opportunity to work with as closely or meet. I want to just kind of do some stage setting on line 5 because things have changed in the last year, especially from our perspective on how we work on line 5 and what some of the driving forces are behind line 5. And then I want to just give some quick updates both on the legal, the permitting, and the advocacy side of things, which I think I'll cover all the bullets here. I appreciate the team pulling these together, but stepping back on line 5 for a really long time, and this is what brought GLBN into the discussion. It was about water protection, water issues, the protection of the resource for citizens, as well as protecting the resource for our economy. That's what brought the Great Lakes Business Network to the line 5 issue. But in the last year, as decision making has really reached a pivotal point on this issue, and it's elevated to a more national level, both the legal challenges as well as Canada triggering a treaty called the 1977 Transit Treaty. This issue has now become one of not only water protection, but of fighting for basic rights, the rights to clean water for citizens, as well as tribal treaty rights for tribes. And I'll add in the use of the 1977 treaty by Canada means that we are really, really challenged as a nation as to whether we can be ready for a just energy transition. Basically, the 1977 treaty that Canada has triggered is a treaty that was put together in 1977 between Canada and the U.S., basically saying that no pipelines could be shut down without meeting certain criteria. And Canada has really leaned on Enbridge's talking points in triggering the treaty. They triggered it based on Enbridge's false claims around economic need around Line 5, not only in the U.S., but also in Canada. And then they've outright ignored both tribal treaties that are protected under this and citizens' rights and environmental protections that are protected under this, as well as the very blunt and plain fact that Enbridge is operating illegally in multiple jurisdictions. All of these factors really dismiss the treaty, but Canada triggering it has really pushed the Biden administration to be in a seat of decision making that they were not prepared for. And they've spent the last year, probably almost 2 years now, wrapping their heads around the issue, as well as going to some discussion and negotiating tables with Canada as to why they are triggering this treaty. And this multi-year long conversation that has already taken place has created a pretty dangerous precedent where any pipeline that transports Canadian oil across borders can now be challenged by not only the fossil fuel industry, but the government of Canada as to never being shut down unless there's a rupture of some kind. That is the position that Canada is currently sitting on. So it does create a challenge as to whether we can move forward as a country into a just clean energy transition if both the government of Canada as well as companies like Enbridge are so easily allowed to lean on a treaty that delays things for multi-years. I'll also say that the legal claims that are coming out of Enbridge, both combating the state of Michigan's effort to shut down Line 5 and then combating the Battle River Band's effort to shut down Line 5, really lean on dismantling tribal treaty rights. And I'm not talking about just the tribal treaty rights of Michigan tribes or the Battle River Band. I'm talking about across the board. It really takes away their sovereignty to control and manage their land, air, and water. So the Enbridge is outright challenging that in court and through the use of the treaty. And then I will also say that the legal challenge is that Enbridge is does similar damage to basic rights of access to clean drinking water from citizens. And if Michigan's rights are dismantled successfully by Enbridge, that means all states states' rights under public trust are dismantled. And so this is a really outrageous and important battle that we've stepped into fully as an organization. And I few ways that we've done that in the last month, but we've done it for a couple of years now, is we have filed really important amicus briefs, which are basically friend of the court briefs that side with one party or another. We just yesterday filed an amicus brief supporting the Bad River Band in their effort to uphold tribal treaty rights and protect their water and land from Line 5, which have an easement that expired in 2013, and Enbridge has refused to adhere to the legal agreements. And then we also, a couple weeks ago, filed our another amicus brief in the state of Michigan's appeal case, where the state of Michigan is working to try to get that case brought back to state court where it belongs versus in the federal lens. So those are some pretty immediate ways that we are engaging, and purposeful ways that we are engaging. And I'll say our legal arguments in those amicus briefs are incredibly powerful from the fact that we're, as an organization, really challenging the foundation that Enbridge and Canada lean on, which is this one of economic need and prosperity around Line 5. And in this latest brief, which we will get a link around to everybody, we outline how multiple experts have shown that there are very easy ways to transition away from Line 5 in an orderly shutdown. And that's what we're really pushing the Biden administration to understand, is that we have to think proactively about orderly shutdowns of pipelines. We can't operate under the lens of allowing pipelines to operate until failure, which is the current regulatory scheme. And then some other ways that we've engaged in the legal process more recently that I just want to call out and shout out. We had a member, Bob Sutherland, who's our co-chair, one of our co-chairs. He was actually able to testify in trial on behalf of the Bad River Band. Some of the concerns, the economic concerns that many of the businesses within our network have around what it means to operate Line 5 to failure, and what that could translate to from the green or the blue economy side of things. Because so often in the regulatory legal picture, Enbridge's words are taken as their economic needs are prioritized, and we're trying to shift the conversation to show that the economic needs of the Great Lakes and the businesses that rely on them are as important, if not more important, in all discussions, and need to be weighted as such. So it's cool to be a part of an organization that's really challenging this fundamental idea that has put our country in general in a pretty rocky place from a regulatory perspective, especially on environmental issues. And then we were also a part, stepping away from the legal side of things a little bit. We were a part of a federal gathering a couple weeks ago, and this is what the picture is here, to come together with tribes, groups, and citizens to think through a more comprehensive and organized federal approach to Line 5, because Line 5 has plopped into President Biden's lap. And there's all kinds of atmospheric reasons as to why he does not want to take action on Line 5. And so we're really trying to wrap our heads around how we can apply the needed pressure that we had around Governor Whitmer and Attorney General Nessel to get them to take action. How do we build that at a federal level? And how do we get the attention of some of the federal organizations that are so good at bringing issues to that federal lens? So we had that first gathering in St. Ignace a couple weeks ago, and there's going to be a part 2 to that in DC in December that a number of us will participate in, and that'll be really putting some bones around a campaign plan that we can all work around, and making sure that we're creating lanes for each of us to work within, so that we're reaching as much as we can. And then lastly, I see a couple questions in here, so I'll try to wrap quick. There's 2 other decision makings outside of shutting down Line 5. Enbridge has proposed alternatives to Line 5. I like to call them actually expansions of Line 5, one of which is a reroute around the Bad River Band. This is an extension of the pipeline around the reservation, but still very much within their watershed. In this reroute, they are leaning on, in that in that Bad River Band case as a reason to why the judge should not shut down Line 5. He should instead allow Line 5 to operate until the reroute is approved. However, the reroute is extremely problematic, and multiple agencies, including the EPA, has come out quite strongly against the current plan, saying that it creates more harm than good. And we have confidence that the decision-making process there will allow the Bad River Band to oppose that, and it will either be greatly delayed or just not move forward. And then there's the tunnel proposal, which right now is currently going through multiple processes. The Public Service Commission could make a decision any day now based on the public need of Line 5. That's one element. And it's kind of an individual element of the project. The other permitting layers are the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will be evaluating an environmental impact study on Line 5, and that should be released within a couple of years. But right now, there's a pretty big push by Enbridge to have a PR effort going to try to speed up that process. They are claiming that it's already extremely slow. But it's important to note that that is very much a PR effort. The environmental impact statement, as it's been set by the Army Corps of Engineers, is actually quite scaled back, alarmingly scaled back, in fact. So many groups are actually pushing for that to be strengthened and extended out. So there's a pretty big tug of war happening, but Enbridge is putting on a PR effort right now because of the legal aspects of their case are really not in their favor. And the amicus briefs are being filed this week, which clearly paint a picture that Line 5 needs to be shut down very soon. So I ran through a lot there. A couple of things that I just want to flag. On October 24th, I'll be doing a much more extensive deep dive into Line 5 for our network. So we'll get out an appointment for that. It was flagged in our newsletter in case you missed it. And then on October 30th, we will have a meeting with Representative Theander on Line 5. He is a huge champion for Line 5, and we're looking very much at that meeting as a way to brainstorm collaboration to get to congressionals in particular on this issue and make sure that they're holding the line and putting pressure on Biden. So if you can attend either of those, we'll do a deeper dive. But I appreciate everybody hanging in there. Thank you.
And Beth, we did have another question in the chat as well, just about what's in this for Canada to side with Enbridge at the expense of the treaty with the U.S. the states and relationships with the tribes.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Their original amicus in front of the state of Michigan outlined the economic need from a product source perspective, meaning that they felt like they needed the oil. But it was interesting to see that the Bad River Band amicus brief that they filed went much more extensively into the need to maintain throughput for their fuel. So Canada is a major exporter of tar sands crude oil, which is an incredibly destructive product, both at conception of mining it as well as burning it. It's just extremely toxic product. That said, it's a huge economic driver for the country, and the governments that engaged Ottawa and Ontario and Alberta, the governments that engaged in that amicus brief very much leaned heavily on their support for the fossil fuel industry. I'm looking at the chat. Did I get everything?
I think you covered it all. I know that was a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to answer any other questions. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, and then at this time, we'll transition. I think it's nice for you all just to hear about how members have been engaging, what events we've been interacting with. And so here I wanted to take about 5 or 10 minutes to go through some examples for things that you can look forward to next year as well, and things that are coming up in the coming months in case you missed them. So first up, I just wanted to talk a quick minute about the Michigan Outdoor Summit, which was last month, if I can keep my dates straight. But as you can see here, we had the opportunity to host a panel, and there is John and Ella and Beth and Josh, which was great to have this group here with us, all representing businesses from Northern Michigan. And we had an opportunity to talk to other business owners from the region and other just folks who are interested in the space about how they could learn to be advocates for clean energy and clean water. So we had an hour-long panel, and I'll just take a second here. I know a few of you are on this call. If any of you from the panel want to say anything about interacting with it, I think that would be great for other folks.
I'll jump in here, Zoe. So it was great to see people from the outdoor community talk about what they enjoy being outdoors, and we associate that with the Great Lakes and the water and so forth. So we had people from Washington, D.C., I believe, Zoe, that joined us at the summit. And so a couple hundred people were at the summit in terms of attendees, which is the size that I enjoy. I don't enjoy the 10,000, 5,000 people places or summits because you can't really interact and you actually get to know people there. And so I really appreciate that you all put the panel together and also being able to attend the outdoor summit and hopefully we'll see that well.
Yeah, and to that point, it was a great networking opportunity too. I know we had a chance to meet Jackson there, so just a wide variety.
I can jump in. So last week, Beth and I attended the Healing Our Waters Coalition conference in Cleveland. And it was, as you've probably seen in emails and different event opportunities, we've become a very close partner with the Healing Our Waters Coalition, which basically convenes all of the environmental and water-oriented nonprofits across the Great Lakes region. So it's a great opportunity to see partners. There was a lot of really awesome community-focused work, and there was a lot of emphasis on some of our issue areas, particularly the harmful algal blooms in Lake Erie, plastics, and some of the different community engagement opportunities. So we were excited to represent GLBN and were able to pass out a lot of GLBN swag. I can jump in on this one too. So we, on September 26th, convened businesses from GLBN to create a GLBN team in the Michigan Energy Michigan Jobs Coalition Lobby Day. So this was really bringing businesses into the conversation around a lot of the climate packages that Ashley talked through earlier on this call. And as you could see, we were so lucky to have the support from different member businesses to create the best booth of all of them. So a big thank you to Zingerman's, East Lansing Hot Yoga, and the Bear Factory in particular for their donations to make our table, a huge draw. And we had not only the booth and, sort of just the presence there, but we also had businesses participating directly in meetings with legislators. So it was a great opportunity for the network.
Thank you, Lisa. And this one is upcoming, and I'm very excited to say I'll be sharing the stage with Jennifer Morrow. She actually used to work with Starline Ferries and is now running her own marketing PR firm. And we'll be taking a moment, a breakout session at the People First Economy Summit coming up in Kalamazoo on October 26th to discuss social justice and racial equity and how that can be incorporated into your sustainability and ESG messaging. And so I'll be taking some time during that presentation to introduce all the folks at the summit to the GLBN and how we have had really authentic partnerships that have allowed businesses in the network to support a lot of these social issues that also overlap with environmental issues. For example, our partnerships with the tribes, moving forward our Line 5 work. And so we'll be there. I have already seen other speakers there. I think folks from Brew Vivant are in the room. Off the top of my head, I can't remember who else is there, but I look forward to seeing some GLBN members. So if you're there, make sure to say hi. And if you haven't bought a ticket but are available that day, we'd love to see you there. People First Economy, from my perspective, is policy focused and local community focused. So it seems to be that they really help put people first within the business. And so I'm excited to build a relationship with them as well. They also help lead the B Corp for Michigan.
Yeah, so just to add to that, it's great that you're able to be part of that there's a lot of overlap in terms of values between our network here and People First. Aaron Peterson and ourselves are both members of the People First piece. We've gone through. I know we've gone through the first 2 cohorts that they've had up in the Upper Peninsula, and I know Aaron did one of those cohorts. We're actually in the assessment stage of the B Corp. Go through evaluation first and assessment, and so and that's been beneficial to be part of People First. So there's a lot of overlap between both organizations.
Awesome. And is that with Alice Jesper? Is she leading you? Okay, very cool. Well, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free then to reach out to John. It sounds like he's got good things to say.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And that's a great point too, John. I know a lot of our members are sort of engaged in both of those groups. And if you didn't know, your GLBN participation and membership and advocacy can also count towards your B Corp analysis and certification. Okay, so while Zoe is at the People First Economy Summit, we are Divide and Conquering. I will be at the Eagle Sustainability Conference up in Gaylord, Michigan. So this will be another great opportunity to expose the GLBN to agency staff, businesses, community leadership. I think there's about 400 people registered for this convening. And just in general, as you can see, we are always looking for more opportunities to share the Great Lakes Business Network with different events, communities, organizations. So if there's something like this happening in your community, definitely reach out and we will do our best to be present. And the other thing is we are always looking for materials for our display. So if you have anything from your business, I know the Ann Arbor t-shirt company magnets have been a big hit in the past. I'll give Tony a shout out. But if there's something that you would like us to feature, we're happy to incorporate that. And then in November, we are making the journey to Madison, Wisconsin for the Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council Conference. So similar to some of the sustainable business events that we've already teed up, this is the Wisconsin focused effort. So very excited to connect with more partners in Wisconsin and hopefully help grow our presence there. And then one quick plug for a DC fly-in in March of 2024. We are still nailing down the exact date, but we know that we will be going to DC and hopefully bringing quite a few members the week of March 4th. So this will be an awesome opportunity to get in meetings with some congressional members. We hope to do a reception, not only to bring forth some of the priorities that the Great Lakes Business Network is advocating for on a regional level, but also to really make some of those concrete connections with the decision makers who carry the policies forward. So we will have some funding support to bring a handful of members with us. And we hope that you will consider joining us. And if you are interested in this opportunity, we will be sending more details as we nail them down. But definitely do reach out to myself or other GLBN staff if you have interest, and we will make sure that you are on our list to start receiving this information.
Lisa, can I chime in just real quick?
Yes.
I thank you. I want to put an emphasis on don't let travel be the barrier to participating. We can, as Lisa mentioned, we have a little bit of grant money to get folks in that room. So if you need travel assistance and you want to be a part of that engagement, 100% lean on us. We're happy to make it work.
Alrighty, and on a similar note, we also just wanted to take a minute here at the end of our meeting to talk about recruiting, and we really have been growing and diversifying who we're reaching out to, and growing those partnerships. And I think, as you can see, we have plenty of opportunities for members to be involved in the coming months and the coming year. And so we've been going to many events and meeting lots of new folks, which is always helpful. But I think as you can see, word of mouth is incredibly helpful too. And you guys have your own positive experiences. So I had a chance in the last couple of months to write a warm intro recruiting email template for you all that I'll drop in the chat. And if you find this useful, this would just be a great way, if you have time, to introduce any of your fellow business owners to the GLBN. In here, you'll see there's a lot of hyperlinks as examples of what we've been working on as a network. There's opportunities for you to personalize this letter. And so really, I just wanted to create and give resources where possible. I know this is something that members have asked for in the past and that they are finding helpful. So if you have any questions here, we can always provide additional materials when it comes to helping with that outreach. But I just wanted to take a moment and take a pause there too, if there were any questions on what Lisa and I just had covered in the last couple of minutes.
How many members do we currently have?
I think we're hovering around 210, just over 200 though. Yeah. Yeah, and Tony, I'm just seeing your question, so just give me a second. He says, just curious, as a Port Huron Pines board member, if you could run across orgs in any of the Great Lakes, etc. initiatives. Yeah, could you expand on that a little bit, Tony?
I know there org does a ton of work in the, the northeast quadrant of Michigan. I just didn't know with some of these larger Great Lakes conferences, we help host the Lake Huron conference, but I wasn't sure if we're involved at all in the greater Great Lakes conversation. Just curious.
Yes, it's funny that you mentioned that. I know Jennifer Hill is one of your fellow board members, and we were just connecting on this at the POW conference. So we haven't worked with them in a deep or thoughtful partnership, but we're definitely open to it where the priorities overlap. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Great. And then just before we wrap up and leave some time for Q&A, Ashley, I know you've already mentioned this, contacting the legislatures is a big action item for this week and the coming weeks. But if there's any other action items, I just wanted to take a moment there.
That really is the big one. Reach out to the governor, reach out to any senators, especially on the Michigan climate, or the Michigan Clean Energy Future Package. It is, we know, as early as, I know of a meeting at 8 o'clock this morning that happened between the utilities and some of the senators on that committee. The utilities are pushing very hard to gut and make sure that this package does not, cross the governor's desk by November. So if you have just a few minutes in your day and can call a few folks, that would make a big difference. Business leaders are a key community that really needs to put pressure here.
Yeah, and I'll just plug that the MEMJ, so Michigan Environment Michigan Jobs Coalition, is looking for business spokespeople that would be willing to speak to clean energy during an upcoming press event. If you have interest, we're happy to help develop talking points that anybody's comfortable with.
I also did drop in the chat tonight. There is a teach-in by our partners over at MyCan. So maybe instead of watching TV or something like that, you listen into this while you cook dinner. But it's just an opportunity to understand the environmental justice lens around this issue as well. And we are at time. I want to be respectful of all of you and appreciate you all taking time to join and be climate warriors on these issues. So thank you. And it's good to see all of your faces and connect as always. But please always reach out if you have questions or are looking for support. We've got your back. So with that, I think we are all good to sign off.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the week.
Thank you.